Okay, so bringing you yet another example of playing cash poker against a Maniac, which is good fun. So the villain here at this point, their VPIP is 81%, so they're voluntarily putting money in the pot pre-flop 81% of the time. They are 3-betting 16% of the time. They're very often doing this little min 3-bet thing, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense. As I've said before, the first hand I played against this opponent, I got all my money in pre-flop with pocket kings, looked very similar. They had 7-8 suited. Villain wound up winning the hand. But again, this opponent, in the prior videos we've seen, they have gotten all their money in pre-flop with Jack-8 offsuit, 6-7 offsuit, and 8-7 suited. So I am here with pocket kings. You can see my stack size there is getting pretty big. Thanks in large part to this particular villain. So they min 3-bet me here. I'm going to go ahead and 4-bet here. And obviously I'm not trying to brag about my skill level. I just identified a Maniac, and I've gotten pretty lucky to get some cards against them, and to be able to play them and to be able to gamble. And gambling against a player like this can be just a lot of fun. And you know, like sometimes I'll see players come to tables like this, and I might be with a bunch of other good online regulars, and they don't deviate from their games well enough to kind of exploit these players. And I think, you know, like you don't need to deviate from your game a ton usually, but whenever you see somebody who's just playing very poorly, or just playing very wild, it's, you know, you have to change your game a little bit and understand how to exploit that. Because you know, you can play GTO strategy just kind of blindly like a robot play GTO strategy, and you're going to win because other players aren't playing GTO strategy and not playing optimally. But whenever you see people who are just playing super tight and they start betting, you can't think, oh, well, GTO strategy is going to tell me I should be, you know, 4-betting my pocket queens here. It's just not, whenever you get 3-bet by a nitty player, that's just not a smart move. And the same thing goes for, you know, if you have, like, say, pocket jacks and a very loose player is 3-betting you, you know, you may want to 4-bet them. It's, you know, they're just not a lot of different things, just different things worth considering. So I do go ahead and bet the flop. I get called, an ace comes here, so I'm not happy about the ace coming here, but there's already $279 in the pot, and the villain only has $62 left behind, so it's not like, you know, if this were a smaller pot and the villain had a lot more behind, it would actually be a decision to make, but again, this opponent is a Maniac anyway. I go ahead and check just because I'm worried if I bet that they can just get away from their hand, seeing as how I 4-bet pre-flop and now there's an ace on the board. Like, they're probably thinking I either have a strong pocket pair or an ace. But if I do check to my opponent, so I'm worried, like, if I bet into them, they're only going to call with a decently strong hand, like maybe some ace. Whereas if I check to them, they're very likely to just bet, hoping to bluff me off of a hand. Also, you know, a player like this, who knows why they're betting? They're just splashing around, gambling. Hopefully they're not gambling away their mortgage. But in any event, you know, a lot of times I think whenever you're out of position, this is kind of where I like to trap, so to speak, and check to a player and give them the chance to bluff. Because I think whenever you bet sometimes into somebody on the turn here and they're in position, you kind of give them the chance to play well, right? Like, call with my good hands and fold my bad hands. But whenever you check the players a lot of the time, you give them a chance to make a bad bluff or make a bad play. So, you know, it's all kind of a matter of, right, you want your opponents to make mistakes, and most of the time you're going to do that by putting pressure on them, but in certain situations you can do that by checking and kind of inducing some action on their part. So, you know, I go ahead and check here. I'm not necessarily anticipating that I can just get down, you know, without putting any more money in. Opponent did have queen eight, so they did have a flush draw there. So they definitely had some equity whenever all the money went in, but obviously, you know, I had more equity. So, pretty good spot, pretty interesting hand, and just another example of playing against a Maniac, you know, which, look, this, you know, can be a great source of profit, and, you know, you just, table selection can be important. You know, identifying player tendencies is important. Playing online using a heads-up display is so helpful for just understanding that, especially whenever you're multi-tabling, you can see right away player stats and kind of understand what's going on with them. So whenever you see a player who's putting money in the pot pre-flop 81% of the time, I don't have to be paying close attention. I know that because my HUD is gathering stats for me, and I can just go ahead and confidently play some poker.